It's the He Mistook Her for a Swan emergency broadcasting system. At it again. Episode 10. Hang on to your hats. Hey, everybody. Believe it or not, episode 10. That's 10. That is 10 friggin' weeks of emergency broadcasting. Can you believe it? Who would have thunk it was going to go this long? And, you know, actually, things are lightening up again. You know, I think there's cause for a certain amount of optimism. What the hell? I mean, our reality has been pretty warped. We've gone into our little cocoons. Are we going to come out as butterflies? Let's say yes. Let's say yes to that. So, yeah, episode 10. It is, here's on a little heavier note. It's National Cancer Survivor Day. However, it is also National Chocolate Ice Cream Day. So, you know, my mom's a cancer survivor. Actually, some of my dear friends are cancer survivors. So I think they should all go have some chocolate ice cream, and you should go have some chocolate ice cream with them and enjoy it. Lots of notable birthdays today. Dean Martin. Everybody loves somebody. Tom Jones. Delilah, you know. Prince. His royal purpleness. It's his birthday today. Last, and by no means least, Ed Koch. No, not the mayor. My dad. It's his birthday today. What the hell do you think of that? Yeah, my dad, pretty cool cat, you know. He turned me on to Tom Waits before I even knew. He turned me on to Charles Bukowski when I was a teenager. I turned him on to Patti Smith, but in the end, he loved Patti Smith more than I did. He bought all those late Patti Smith albums. He was a true fan, more than me, I think. So, yeah, he was a traveler, a thinker. You know, there you go. Miss him. So, last week, I think at one point I got to talking about some of my favorite guitar players, and I mentioned Johnny Levison, and that still stands. He is I'd say one of my favorite guitar players to play with or to watch. He was just a genius. He could play anything. So much fun, so much energy, so many zany stories. Holy schmoly. Somebody should just write down all his stories if you can remember them. Like, apparently when the great rock and roll thing that John Lennon, rock and roll revival, when John Lennon was in town in the 70s, Johnny Levison was there. He stole John Lennon's limousine and drove it around the block and brought it back. This is one story I've heard. It could be a lie. I don't know. Johnny Levison, man of many stories, and again, great guitar player. So we're gonna go down a little rabbit hole here, and I'm gonna mention another guitar player who I think really spun me around and had I think a pretty big influence on the Toronto music scene, actually, and that's Herald Nix. Who you say, Herald Nix? Maybe not a household name, but maybe. Anyway, Herald Nix is actually, he's not a guy. It's a band, not a guy. But he's kind of a guy, too. But there was a band called Herald Nix, and it was composed of John Wood, who actually continues to record under the name Herald Nix, and more on that later. Mike Van Nuys, piano and guitar. Russ Young, Russ the Bus on drums, and Rennie Futura on bass. So, yeah. When I first saw Herald Nix play, I could not believe my ears. It was like, what the hell? Just perfect timing, really interesting changes. Not crazy, you know, not, you know, shreddy stuff. You know, I'm not into that shreddy stuff. I think it's stupid. It's just super tasteful, you know, and I'll bring that back to my third favorite guitar player, which is Gord Lewis. Not that he's third, but it's like the holy trinity there, you know, of Nix, Gord Lewis, and Levison. Wow, would that be a band? Holy shit. All right, so hold on to your hats. I'm going to ask my friend Sam to put the Wayback Machine to 1982. Here we go. poof, it's 1982 all over again. Oh my God. We had awful taste in hair and fashion. Actually, we didn't. We were fucking amazing. So here's the dealio, okay? So many of us had come through the punk rock scene, and punk rock was kind of winding up a little, in a sense, you know. It continues to this very day, of course, but that original scene was losing a little of its steam. I'd played with the Valtones, I'd played with the Demics. That was all done by middle of 1981, okay? So, around that same time, actually terrible timing for the Valtones, rockabilly suddenly got really popular. The Valtones had already tried it like 2 years earlier, and nothing happened, you know? People threw bottles at us. They're going, what the fuck? Shut up. Shut up with your stupid rockabilly, people said then. Now, ooh, yeah, everybody's into it, right? So, in Toronto, there were basically, I'm going to say 4 rockabilly bands that kind of counted. There were other ones. People will get mad at me. They'll say, oh, what about, you know, Billy and the Hairdos or whatever. I don't know. But I'm going to say there was kind of 4 that were there at the start that kind of evolved a little bit out of that punk and alternative music scene. And so they were partially composed of people that directly came out of punk bands, and also partially created by people who just were always into rockabilly and roots music. Okay, so number 1, the Bobcats. Here they are. They were always the darlings of the press. They got the picture. They got the picture in the Star and the Globe. Why? Big hair. That's why. In rockabilly, big hair wins. Why? That's just the rule, okay? It's like, why is the ace low in crib and high in poker? No reason. That's just the rule. In rockabilly, big hair wins. They had the big hair. They had the biggest hair. And the superpower of the Bobcats was Jack DeKaiser, okay, who's still playing around. God bless him. He's incredible. So Jack DeKaiser was just like, blew our minds because he was so friggin' good. Like he had the superpower of never playing a bad note, basically. He was just fantastic. Teddy Fury was in the Bobcats. He came a little bit from the punk world. He was in the Concords and some other bands like that before. But yeah, he really took to the big hair like a duck to water, and he's still sporting it. God bless him. So, Bobcats, superpower Jack DeKaiser. Paladins. They kind of actually, if we really want to go down a rabbit hole, whatever. There was a band called the Velours, which basically was Handsome Ned, his brother Jim, and Mean Steve Piano, and some other guys. And it kind of split off like an amoeba. And one was the Paladins. And, of course, the superpower of the Paladins was Mean Steve Piano, who was... He looked mean when he was playing, if you want to know. Like, he really looked like he would tear your fucking head off. And if you messed with him, he might. It's been known to happen. But a brilliant, like, as good as Jerry Lee Lewis. He was spectacular. He could play piano with his feet. He could sing. He could play, with his fingers too. He could play piano really good. So he was the real deal. He was the ticket man. So it was fantastic. And the Paladins, on the other hand, not too happening with the big hair. They didn't give a shit about the big hair, but they had Mean Steve, so they didn't need the big hair. They were already great. So the other half of the amoeba, this Handsome Ned's, he went on to form the Sidewinders with J.D. Weatherston from the Demics, the punk band, and his brother Jim and Ronnie Asparty, who played with Johnny Loveston. Actually, remember that? Ronnie played with Johnny Loveston in this band Next, and they'd start every gig out with, they go NEXT, like 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't remember a damn other thing about them, but there you go. Next. So the superpower of the Sidewinders, of course, was Handsome Ned, who was just like a big ball of hillbilly energy and unstoppable. A freight train. The man was a freight train of energy. Just get the hell out of his way, because he's going through. The fourth band, my band, was the One-Eyed Jacks. We were kind of the Batman of the Marvel universe. I don't think we had specifically a superpower, but we were just like regular guys trying to do the best we could, and we were a little bit kind of the odd man out because we wrote all our own songs almost. If I were to say that there was a superpower, I mean, it might be that we did have Chris Houston in the band on bass, and he is like a ball of energy and a ball of positive energy. So it was such fun, and he's also a great writer, which he's still doing today, of course. And my brother, the drummer, Alex Koch, whenever we got a review, basically the only thing people would say was, "Wow, that drummer's amazing." So, and I would say actually for all four of those bands, we all had really, really good drummers, which was kind of fun. So there we go. We got our little thing going. We think we're just like the cat's ass, right? We're playing festivals and gigs. We're all over. People are coming through town. We're playing with the Shaken Pyramids and Carl Perkins and blah blah blah. So this is 1982 into 1983. I think by the end of 82, the One-Eyed Jacks kind of fell apart. I think Chris was starting basically a solo career. I think Alex was joining another band. So, we lost our guitar player. Yeah, I forgot to mention Don Pazzi, our guitar player. So, great guitar player. He kind of came from I think more of a country western background and a rock background, which actually gave it an interesting twist to some of the stuff we were doing. So anyway, where I'm going with this is Ned and myself are sort of kind of trying to wrap our heads around what can we do to push this rockabilly thing into the next stage. Rockabilly is very formalistic music, in those days, okay? I've said some things about rockabilly, and I think to put it in context, basically in that 1982, it was pretty much a bunch of true believers, and you really didn't want to mess with the formula, and based on our background, we wanted to mess with the formula. I mean, that's what we do. Show me a formula, I'll mess with it, right? So we were messing with it, and I think where Ned, his genius was that he was also at the same time starting to play at the very, very young Cameron, just solo and doing country and western music. So I think at the same time, he was starting to put together these big sprawling monstrosities of bands that we called the Hayseed Hellions, which had, I don't know, 10 people in it, the band, and we would play like country classics at the Cameron and around different places, the Cabana Room, blah blah blah. I love this poster of the Hayseed Hellions. I think it's one of their first gigs, I think. And a band, Seatbelts for Dogs, opened up. And if you look down in the corner of the picture, there's like a little devilish guy, and I think the poster was drawn by Runt, and I think it's kind of a caricature of Stan. It looks a little bit like Stan, the singer of Seatbelts for Dogs. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. Stan, is it true? I mean, it looks a little bit like you. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So Ned and I basically, we get together and we say, okay, we need to do a little more outlaw. We need to kind of do some outlaw country, like classic outlaw country, Merle Haggard. We need to do some Buck Owens. We need to do some of that kind of shit. Some of that Bakersfield sound. I can't talk. So we formed a band called the Runnin' Kind with a couple other dudes. and we were trying to do some of that stuff. And so there's this in the air. It's in the air that we want to move on. We want to get going a little to something else. 1983. Somebody comes through town. The Herald Nix band. Holy shit. We've heard about them. We don't really know anything about them, but they got this great legend. It's like somebody says, they're just guys from like the interior BC. They've been playing this stuff since the 50s. They just keep playing it. They didn't realize it was cool now. That, of course, was bullshit. But so lots of legendary stories. Anyway, they show up. They've got this bus that they tour in, this old vintage Greyhound bus. So how cool is that? I mean, most of us don't even have cars here. I mean, nobody has a car. Does anybody have a car? No, nobody has a car. Cleve Anderson had a car. That's it. He's the only guy. They show up. They play. They fucking burned our playhouse down. Holy crap. They were like 27 times better than all four of us put together. There was shrinkage. There was fucking shrinkage. Holy moly. The band was unbelievable. So you got John Wood on guitar, just killing us with these classic guitar riffs. Like, this man has obviously had a deep listen to all the good old original country, the Lefty Frizzels, and he's had a good listen to a lot of jump blues stuff. So, I mean, this kind of takes us back to roots music, which is, what he mistook her for Swan is, really. Mike Van Nuys on piano. Crazy piano player, amazing musical genius, just a musical genius. And he could play piano with his feet, too. So, I mean, it'd be cool to have him and Mean Steve, like, have a piano off, like a duel. That'd be, yeah, can't do that anymore. Russ the bus. He's the guy who owns the buses. He collects buses. I mean, some of us collect guitars or like bottle caps or matchsticks and covers and shit like that. He collects buses, vintage buses, and he's got this great big old drum kit that has deer skin heads and everything. And he plays it with just such a cool, different style. Reminds me a little of DJ Fontana, Elvis's drummer, but maybe even going like a generation back. Finally, Rennie Fitzgerald, upright bass, snappy dresser. I mean, they're all snappy dressers. They all got the suit jackets on and then the cool shoes and stuff. But not ostentatiously rockabilly. No big hair really. No big hair in the band. Anyway, they like knock me out, and I can totally recall a bunch of gigs with them. And when they left town, when they first came, me and a bunch of other people, Ned was there too. I think they played the Siboney, or they played someplace on Augusta in Kensington Market. And as the bus pulled away, there's like 20 or 30 of us, and we're just going like this, wow, that was crazy good. Like, see you soon. As it happens, the bass player, Rennie Fitzgerald, he's hanging out with Ned a little bit, and those two are cooking something up. What they're cooking up is Rennie loves what Ned is doing. And so by the end of that year, lo and behold, Rennie Fitzgerald quits Herald Nix, moves to Toronto, and Ned, Rennie, and I just form a new band, the Handsome Neds. And we get Ned's drummer from the Sidewinders, J.D. Weatherston on drums. It's the whole package. So that's kind of how that happened. Now, just I don't want to going on and on here, but Herald Nix, which is John Wood, continues to record. And he has done some really, really cool recordings. He's done a whole bunch of albums. And he's just getting deeper and deeper into this stuff. And it's not exactly rockabilly anymore, I wouldn't say. I think it's difficult to describe his music. Very difficult to describe his music. I love people whose music is difficult to describe. I just read something on in the Times. Digression here. There's this lady called Ellen Fullman, who has built this stringed instrument that is 50 feet long, and she's been building it for like half her life. She's my age, so, and she has been studied. She's an artist, a visual artist, and a performance artist, and she started building this thing back in the 80s, and it's got all these strings. And I think it's got like 2 rows of them, and she walks along in between these rows of strings, and she's got rosin on her fingers, and she just kind of rubs the strings, and they make a noise. Obviously, they make a noise. They make a drony sound, and then she gets other people to play with her, like cello players, and you like if you're a drummer, you've got a problem moving your gear, right? She has got a fucking problem moving her gear. It's 50 feet long. I mean, God bless her. You know, Ellen Fullman. There's a reason for me to get up in the morning. Yep, there's a reason to live. Okay, back to Herald Nix. Sorry. You should look her up. Okay. So Nix, the stuff he's been recording lately it's not as crazy as that. It's not as crazy as that, but it is definitely hard to put a label on. And one thing that I've been listening to a lot of old blues lately, specifically Son House, and it's finally dawned on me. I could be wrong on this, but I think that Herald Nix, John Wood, it reminds me of some Son House music. So, Son House, who was he? He was like one of the original blues guys in Mississippi. He started out, real churchy guy. I think he was a preacher for a while. Didn't really like the blues. One day he saw some guy playing bottleneck, and he thought, wow, that's cool. I want to do that. And so he learned how to do it. And he's playing around, got pretty well known. The famous story is that Robert Johnson, without whom the Rolling Stones would be a different band if there was no Robert Johnson, right? So Robert Johnson would always come around and watch Son House play. And try and figure out what's he doing, and every time you're just sitting right in front of him, watching what he was doing. And apparently Robert Johnson was just shit, and he was playing on the guitar, and people were going, make him stop, it's horrible. So Robert Johnson goes away to Arkansas for a year, comes back, and he's fucking amazing. Like even Son House says, wow, you are now good. So anyway, Son House, he kept going for a couple of years. Howlin' Wolf played with him. Muddy Waters was from the same area. And then, later on in the 60s, a bunch of fresh, pimply-faced young men went out and tried to find him. They took a wrong turn at Albuquerque, and anyway, they eventually found him in Rochester, New York. And he came back, and he was on the folk and blues touring circuit in the 60s. And he had a very cool, aggressive guitar style. It's like he's punching the guitar, so there you go. I could be totally wrong about all this, this Son House, Herald Nix thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play you a Son House song, and we're going to go out on that. All right. So everybody stay safe. Everybody stay healthy. Stay out of jail. Keep your ankle bracelets on. We're going to get through it, actually. So let's keep our spirits up, keep our courage up, God damn it. And we'll see you next week. Here's Son House. The real country blues. Here we go. I got a letter this morning, how you reckon it read? Said, hurry, hurry, that gal you love is dead. I got a letter this morning, how'd you reckon that it read? It said, now hurry, hurry, that gal you love is dead. Well, I grabbed my suitcase, took off down the road. I got there, she's on the cooling board. Well, Well, I wrapped my suitcase, I took off down the road. I got there, she's lying out on the cooling board. Well, I walked right up close, I looked down in her face. She's a good old gal, gonna lie there till Judgment Day. Well, I walked right up close, I looked down in her face. She's a good old gal, gonna lie there till Judgment Day. Must have been about 10,000 round the burying ground. I didn't know how much I loved her till they let her down. Must have been about 10,000 round the burying ground. I didn't know how much I loved her till they started to let her down. Walked away, I said, goodbye, baby, I'll see you on Judgment Day. Well, I crossed my arms, I slowly walked away. I said, goodbye, baby, I'm gonna see you on Judgment Day. I got a letter this morning, how'd you reckon it read? Said, hurry, hurry, that girl you love is dead. I got a letter this morning, how'd you reckon that it read? It said, hurry, hurry, that girl you love is dead. It said, now hurry, hurry, that girl you love is dead.